What I wanted to do was show you a value for money of the DTEK60 versus the new Samsung S8. Now, I don't have the privilege of having the S8 in my possession yet, what I did was I did a scaled mock-up of the S8 with the dimensions I could find online. So bear with me with this guy here. But let me give you a little example here. The DTEK60 in Canada is $650 online right now. And in Toronto, we pay 13% tax, which comes to $735. This guy here is online right now for $1,034, and with our tax, again, is coming to $1,168. Now, I've watched a lot of videos on the S8 and the Unbox Therapy review I really liked. He went through a whole bunch of things, and so I just wanted to compare and contrast some of the things he brought up with the DTEK60 and see value for money. Okay, first let's talk about the footprint. The footprint of the S8 is a 5.8 inch screen. The DTEK60 is a 5.5 inch screen. They're both OLED. Now, hands down, Samsung has some of the best screens on the market, but OLED, in terms of comparison, black levels are going to be black levels because black is black. Now, brightness, you're probably going to get the Samsung to be brighter, but who uses their phone at the top brightest anyway? And if you watch some of the videos, you see that when you toggle over to the brightest on the Samsung, you go into this kind of warning zone telling you that you're probably going above what you should, and maybe to conserve battery as well. So that's something you should be aware of. The pixel ratio on here is 570 pixels per inch. On the DTEK60, it is 534. Now, just to give you a comparison, the iPhone 7, which a lot of people love and think is extremely sharp, is 326 pixels per inch. So your eye cannot discern the difference of pixels at this size with that kind of ratio anyway. The ratio of the screen on this is 2560 by 1440. So it's a quad HD on the DTEK60 OLED. On this guy, you've got out of the box 2220 by 1080. So it's out of the box, it's 1080p, but you can ramp it up to 2960 by 1440. And you can see the difference in terms of footprint and where those extra pixels come from. It is a little bit shorter actually than the DTEK, and in comparison, it's a little bit thinner than the DTEK60. So just to show you the pixel here, it's actually very comparable to the width of the pixel and just a little bit longer than the pixel. So the feel in hand is going to be very similar to the pixel. And it's a nice feel. Compared to the DTEK60, I found was just a little bit wide. Just to give you another comparison with the iPhone 7 is 750 by 1334. So if you guys are worried about those few pixels, if you like how sharp the iPhone 7 is, you're going to like how both of these look. You're not going to know the difference. The difference is here, how they did it was they shortened the bezels on the top and bottom and on the sides to get this 5.8 screen in a smaller footprint than even the DTEK60. So if you can see, the bezels here on the top and bottom are about 8 millimeters wide. On the Pixel and the DTEK, if you could see, they are about 15 millimeters. So about 8 on that and about 15 on this one. Just to give you a comparison here, this is a G3 from a few years ago. The G3 has 9 millimeter bezels. So you can see the difference here is not that much on the top and bottom. And G3, props to LG for being way ahead of its time and doing small bezels way back then. The battery on these guys. So they both have 3,000 milliamp batteries. So battery on both are going to be identical. The DTEK60, I can get a good day and a half to 2 days out of this, and pretty heavy usage, video, all of that. So Samsung's probably going to be the same. Knowing the Note circumstance there and the battery issues, I'm sure they put a lot of time and effort into that. So hopefully that'll be great. Just comparison again, iPhone 7, 1960 milliamps. So 3,000, iPhone 7, 1960 milliamps. Speakers. A lot of people were disappointed that the S8 is going to have one speaker down facing, and so no stereo speaker on the S8. The DTEK60 in comparison has two speakers, one on the top, one on the bottom, so you got stereo speakers, but not only stereo speakers, they got grills on front and back, so you've got forward and backward facing, so whether I put the phone down or up facing, the sound's going to be fantastic. So headphone jack on this guy as well, on the DTEK60 as well as the S8, which is a welcomed thing. The Samsung S8 is going to come with Harman AKG headphones. They say coming with, which is funny. We all know that's a marketing term. Nothing is coming with the phone. You're paying for that. Now they're saying a value of $99 it's coming with the phone. Well, you're paying $433 more than this guy, and the BlackBerry headphones are phenomenal. But if you want to get another awesome pair, you got $433 to play around with there. Let's talk about cameras. So you've got 8 megapixel on the front, and sorry for the back here, but you got 12 megapixel on the back of the Samsung S8. The back camera, from what I'm hearing and reading, is going to be identical to the S7, so it's going to be a phenomenal camera, and they were pleased with the S7, so I'm sure it's only gotten a little better in terms of software, but hardware, it's going to be similar. The DTEK60 has an 8 megapixel on the front and a 21 megapixel on the back to compare if you're going to play the megapixel race. Now, we all know the megapixel is not the only thing that makes a great camera. The S7, when I compare it, and even with the Pixel, which has one of the best cameras on the market right now, the DTEK60 can really hold itself up in good lighting. Where you see the big difference and the speed of the camera is when you start getting into the dark. But if you're just comparing megapixels, you got 21 and 8, and you've got a front-facing flash, which means if you're in a dark area and you need a selfie, you're going to get a flash out of the DTEK60, which is fantastic. Remember, I'm looking at value for money here. Fingerprint sensor on the S8, this was one of the downfalls, or a lot of people are complaining about. You can see here on the DTEK60 that the DTEK60 fingerprint sensor is right down the middle and in a good location when you pick up the phone. So it's right there, it's convenient. On the S8, I don't have an example of it here, but what happened, because what I've read is they've made sudden changes at the end, they had to move the fingerprint sensor to the back rather than being through the skin, which is going to be similar to what I think the iPhone 8 is going to do. So what they've done is they've actually moved the fingerprint sensor not from underneath the camera but beside it, and if you watch the unbox therapy, you'll see that it actually smudges the screen to get to the fingerprint to try to find it. So makes it a little harder, awkward. BlackBerry did a great job, or TCL put it in the right position. So again, value for money. The Samsung S8, a big kind of, I'm going to say gimmicky, but basically features of security are going to be iris scanning, face recognition. Who's going to pick up their phone to set it towards their eyes or to face recognition? It's supposed to be quick, but even the guy in Unbox Therapy said he's going to probably stick with the fingerprint sensor because, one, for me, I've seen a video where you can hold face recognition and a phone holding a picture of someone's face and it unlocks the phone. So I'm going to stick with fingerprint sensor on that one. Plus, the BlackBerry comes with picture password, which if you haven't heard about it or read about it, you got to see it. It's phenomenal. It's one of the best ways to unlock your phone where no one, even someone looking right at your screen, cannot see how you're unlocking your phone. So fantastic. Storage, the DTEK60 has 32 gigs with an SD card going up to 2 terabytes. Samsung S8 starts at 64 and an SD up to 2 terabytes as well. I've had this since October and I've used a little over just half of my 32 gigs. Plus with Google Play Music now, I don't have to worry about storing all my music. So that's fantastic. Convenience keys. Now, the Samsung S8, they're saying comes with this dedicated Bixby button here. Now, Bixby is Samsung's version that they're just about to launch in comparison to Google Assistant, the Amazon Echo or Assistant, you got Cortana, and then you got Siri. So you got another version of an assistant from Samsung, which is fantastic, a lot of choice. And they've got a dedicated button here. When you press it, will read your screen and kind of, bring up Bixby. BlackBerry, on the other hand, and actually TCL, because it's part of their reference design, and then BlackBerry was smart enough to keep it in, kept the convenience key here. And this convenience key here, everyone made fun of at first or said, oh, what is that key? It maybe can, it should be maybe a power button, and what can you do with it? This button is completely programmable. You can put an app to it. You can use it for shortcuts. You can do a lot of things with this button. The Bixby key, whatever you want to call it, shortcut key, convenience key, it's non-programmable. So you can't do anything with it. And if Bixby isn't popular, basically, you've got a button that does nothing. Hopefully they unlock it and you can do other things with it. And when you hold down the home button, just like on any of these phones, you're going to bring up Google Assistant. So just like that, you're going to have it on the S8. So you maybe, compare and contrast Bixby versus Google Assistant. So, people are going to say, wow, look at that convenience key on the Samsung S8. It's such a revolutionary idea. BlackBerry's been doing it for iterations on all their phones. Let's talk about software. The S8 was touted to have a pretty good UI change from TouchWiz that was quite bloated and had a lot of different features and replication of Google services. So they've kind of made it closer to stock Android, still using UI, their TouchWiz, and their home button is no longer. So just like the iPhone 8 is suspected to have no home button, the S8 is not going to have a home, or doesn't have a home button, and you can change the home and back button around so that basically you can have it very much like stock Android. BlackBerry has kept it very simple and pretty much stock Android with everything except for adding better additions to the phone than stock Android. So you got a much more gesture-based UI. You can see here the home button is actually programmable. You've got different shortcuts. You've got different settings, but it's basically stock Android. So fantastic for them for doing that. So you got TouchWiz versus stock Android, which everyone says, they want stock Android with Samsung hardware. Well, you're very close here. Plus, if you talk about software, let's talk about all the other stuff you get with the BlackBerry. You get the virtual keyboard, which is unbelievable, like hands down the best keyboard on the market, virtual or hardware. So you get that right out of the box. You can't get it with the S8. You get the DTEK app, which actually monitors all your apps and makes sure it's not doing anything malicious or anything. Any app isn't going into your phone without you knowing about it, which is fantastic. You got the hardened kernel. You've got security updates monthly, which they've kept up. And actually, Google even called them out on being one of the most secure phones because of those security updates. So the Priv was called out. Now you got the DTEK60, the DTEK50, and now you got the Key 1 coming out in May. So fantastic. So again, value for money, security-wise, unbelievable. Gesture-wise, unbelievable. Screens, OLEDs, cameras, fingerprint sensors, security, picture password, all for a package of $735 versus $1,168. Your choice. Just wanted to throw it out there. Leave your comments. Let me know how I did. Have a great day.